Hello everybody, my name is James, hope you're doing well and welcome back to another video. And today we're going to be talking about an update on Valtteri Bottas' future, as well as a rumour that's emerged from the British Grand Prix. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more Formula 1 content. Also make sure to follow me on X at James's Pit Lane, I'll leave a link in the description, but let's jump straight into the video. So let's start with Valtteri Bottas, with Mercedes team boss Toto Wolff speaking more about his future. Now, as we know, Bottas is the Mercedes reserve driver. He drove for the team a few years ago, but at the end of the 2021 season was dropped for George Russell, and for the last few years has been competing at Sauber. But at the end of 2024, the team decided to sign Nico Hülkenberg and Gabriel Bortoleto, which left Bottas without a drive, and as a result, he's gone back to Mercedes as the reserve driver. And he's made no secret of his desire to return to the Formula 1 grid, and he has been linked with a move to Cadillac, but he's also been linked with a move to Alpine. Basically, at the end of last month, the race reported that Bottas had emerged as the leading candidate for a surprise switch to Alpine later this year, should the Formula 1 team decide it wants to replace Franco Colipinto. And the publication also said that it's learned that Alpine's executive advisor, Flavio Briatore, has approached Mercedes to discuss the potential availability of its reserve driver. Now, the race say that sources suggest Mercedes would have no problem in letting Bottas go to Alpine, especially as it will become a Mercedes customer team from the start of next year. And now Mercedes team boss Toto Wolff has spoken a bit more about it. When asked if he's spoken to Briatore about a move to Alpine for Bottas, Wolff said, as quoted by Planet F1, "A few times actually. I saw him today and we talked about Valtteri. It seems that the interest in Valtteri is increasing even more. He deserves that seat. If someone grabs him as a race driver, we'll let him go, of course, with a tear in the corner of our eye. Ultimately, I give him advice as a friend. Valtteri ultimately makes the choices with his management. I try to stay in the background." So it looks like Wolff is fine to see Bottas go. So it looks like Mercedes do have other options if Bottas does decide to go to Alpine. And I would like to see Bottas back in a Formula 1 seat. I think he's a good driver and he does deserve the chance. And it looks like that if a move were to happen, it could come sooner rather than later, following another difficult Grand Prix for Franco Colipinto in Silverstone. Now, as we know, Colipinto replaced Jack Doohan in the Alpine a few races ago, but he has struggled in the Alpine. He's not been on the pace of teammate Pierre Gasly, and he's not yet scored a point. And in Silverstone, he had a very difficult weekend. I mean, in qualifying, he spun out in Q1 and ended up in the barrier, and this forced him to settle for the back of the grid for the race. And on top of that, changes to his car after qualifying further demoted him to the pit lane, but he did have a fresh power unit in his car to offer him a boost during the Grand Prix, but Colipinto couldn't even take the start. He ended up retiring before the light even went out. Basically, at the end of the formation lap, Colipinto was among several drivers to pit to go from intermediate tyres to dry tyres, but Colipinto couldn't get going from the box and ended up retiring from the Grand Prix, and Alpine did not immediately declare the reason for Colipinto's non-start, with an explanation arriving over 90 minutes after the end of the Grand Prix, with the Enstone-based squad declaring that a driveline issue prevented Colipinto from participating in the race. However, Racing News 365 say that talk in the paddock post-race suggested it was a mistake from the 22-year-old himself that resulted in his early exit. Basically, Racing News 365 editor Ian Parks said on the latest episode of the publication's podcast, Alpine turned around and said there was a driveline issue that led to Franco's very early retirement. I've heard rumours in the paddock that actually he burned the clutch, and he did so for the second time this season, and if that's the case, if that is to be believed, then that is a huge fundamental error for any driver to make. To do it once, but to do it twice, I think we are most definitely going to see a different driver in that car. I'd be amazed if Franco Colipinto was in that car in Belgium, I really would. So it looks like Colipinto's future is far from certain, and as I say, perhaps we could see Bottas replacing Colipinto in that car sooner rather than later. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below, but that's going to be the video from me today. Thank you ever so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe for more videos, and until the next one, take care. Bye.